what do I do when I'm not able to separate myself from my work, when it's bleeding into and affecting all the other areas of my life? AKA, I'm not able to decompress from the weight of what I'm working on or who I'm working with, and it's affecting other areas of my life. So, decompression, when we talk about it in the recovery pillar, is actually it's the ability to take the weight off and take a deep breath. It's an ability to remove the weight of whatever scenario and whatever thing you're working on or whatever position you're taking in life, spouse, friend, leader, business person, whatever it might be, employee, employer. You have to unload that, because the example I would use is, even if you carry 2 books for a long period of time, right here, if you carry it out in front of you for a long period of time, they're going to get heavy. It's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of your relative strength and endurance to carrying that small book out in front of you. You're going to eventually break down and it's not going to go well. The same thing happens when you aren't able to decompress. You're just going from one place and then you're moving to the next. Almost like you're in a room, and in the room you're meant to put on, this weighted vest, right? And it weighs 10 pounds. And you're in that room, and you know that when you get into that room, you put on that vest and you operate and you do really well and you've gotten used to it. Well, it's almost like you went into the next room, and that next room has a 15-pound vest, and you put that on top of the 10-pound vest because you didn't really take off the weight of the vest that you had in the first room. You just added to it in the next room. You work in there, and now you're carrying an extra 10 pounds, and you're like, why? This feels a lot heavier. Well, then you go into the next room, into the next position of life, and you put on another 25-pound vest. Well, now instead of just putting on 25 pounds, now you have 40, 50 pounds, so you've doubled your amount of weight. So instead of working in separate weight classes and separate weighted vests in each room, you've just compounded the effort, and then you're not able to focus on the thing you're supposed to focus on because you're doubling the amount of weight that you're carrying. Well, that's what happens in our life emotionally and psychologically. We actually carry stress. That's why people say, where do you carry your stress? Because it shows up in a physical way. It's a physical manifestation. So if you're not decompressing, if you're not removing yourself, the weight of whatever position that you have in that said room, if you're not putting down those books, that you're not taking off that vest, you're going into the next room and you're just carrying more than you're actually supposed to in that place. So, well, how do we do that? Oh my God, if that resonates with you, amazing. And what we do is we actually have to create boundaries and perimeters. They're about the same thing. Boundaries, however you want to see them. Boundaries or perimeters around that work, around that position of life, who you are in that place, right? So you're going to be you all the way through, and you're going to provide your gifts, your talents, your strengths, your insight, your love, your care into those places, but they need to be segmented in one way or another, even if they're with the same person. So what you do is you create the boundary. So one way to do it, and I'll give you 2 examples. One way to do it is that you actually have a physical place that you go to when you're in that said position. So the example is, if you're working from home and you're working in the living room, well, you also are probably trying to have leisure time in the living room. So you may close the laptop, you may end the call, you may do those kinds of you may end the work, but you're physically, therefore typically emotionally and psychologically still in that place. So your brain habitually and your body habitually is knowing that when you step into the living room, that's work. So even if you close the work, you don't remove yourself from there, so you're still carrying that weight, right? So instead, work somewhere else. Don't work, they say, don't work where you're actually going to leisure. And the frank and crass term is you don't shit where you eat. So do things in different places. Actually work in a different spot. Like I actually go to, that's why I physically go to a specific place to work, and I have a specific setup. When I open my laptop, I've got a specific drink, I've got a specific workout playlist, work playlist, where I turn the music on and it immediately gets me into work. And then when I close it and I end that music, I'm not working anymore. That's just kind of what it signals, and it takes some time to build the habits. So I don't work in my living room, right? I don't leisure in the same place where I work. So you have to segment and separate the two. And then what you end up doing, the second part of that is it's counterintuitive, but you have to force yourself to work out in one way, shape, or form. It's counterintuitive. So you're not going to feel up for it. You're not going to feel like you need to do it. You're going to feel exhausted. You're going to be so totally drained. But what you're actually going to want to do is you're going to want to work out, or you're going to have to work out. You may not want to, but you need to, because you have to physically unload what you're carrying in each of those positions. And the only way to unload that from a physical standpoint is to get that out physically. Challenge yourself, burn the muscles, go on a long, hard walk, sweat. That is it's counterintuitive because you're picking up, typically with weight training, you're picking up weight, or if you're going to play a sport, you're challenging yourself, so your body's being worked. But what you're doing is, it's a odd concept, but you're psychologically and mentally taking off the weight that you were carrying, and you're focusing on something else, and your body's working out that which you're carrying mentally, emotionally, and psychologically. So workouts is not because you're feeling good to do it physically. It's because you're worn down and you have to have an outlet and unloading what you're carrying psychologically, emotionally, that is manifesting itself physically. So you're carrying stress, you're worn out, you might be feeling a little ill, you want to just sleep all the time. You have to move physically. Challenge yourself in one way, shape, or form, and that's going to really translate to you having more clarity, energy, and focus in the work. So hopefully that helps you guys. Number one, separate yourself physically from each room. So if you're working somewhere, make sure that's not a place where you're leisure or you're having intimate time with friends and family. So basically the example is don't work in your living room and try to kick your feet up and chill. Do that in two separate places. And then the second one is got to get yourself into a physical challenging space. You got to work out, you got to go sweat, you got to go do something daily, every other day. Make sure you do it consistently, and that'll really help you guys out in really allowing yourself the boundary and parameter to work well and have a good rhythm, so you're not inundated and didn't have any overbearing weight from all the things that you're working on and working towards.